Nationwide at 5. It is time for the cover story. As always, I'm your host, Siobhan Campbell. I trust the Wednesday is treating you well, and I hope we can enjoy ourselves this evening. Special shout out again to our YouTubers as usual. Jamgran, Ciablo, Hermin Hyatt. Wow, it's scrolling so fast I can barely see them. So, people, thank you. That's all I can say. Scrolling too fast, but thank you for your enthusiasm this afternoon. And let's get into it, shall we? Because things kind of heating up within the JLP MP caucus there. Because government backbencher Everald Warmington is chiding Prime Minister Dr. Andrew Holness, accusing him of failing to step in and settle what he describes as a long-running feud inside the Ministry of Culture, Gender, Entertainment and Sport. In his rebuke, the Southwest St. Catherine MP names Minister Olivia Babsy Grange and her Minister of State, Carencia Morrison. More in this report. Everald Warmington's comments follow the government's decision to send State Minister in the Office of the Prime Minister, Senator Abka Fitzhenley, to represent Jamaica at Wednesday's state funeral for West Indies cricket great Sir Garfield Sobers in Barbados. Sport falls under Minister Olivia Babsy Grange's portfolio. Warmington insists he has no issue with Fitzhenley's attendance at the event. In a WhatsApp group for JLP MPs, Warmington is questioning how a minister who already has a Minister of State can end up with a junior member of another ministry speaking for that ministry. According to him, his concern has to do with tensions between Minister Grange and her State Minister Carencia Morrison. He says the Prime Minister and Jamaica Labour Party leader Dr. Andrew Holness has failed to act decisively to resolve the matter. And he reaches back into JLP history for that warning. He says former Prime Minister Edward Seaga stood aside and let malice destroy the party. The former Works Minister asks, quote, "Are we heading back there?" And "The arrogance will not allow us to get another term," end quote. Warmington says a good Prime Minister steps in and resolves issues between a minister and a team supporting that minister. He accuses Holness of allowing this one to fester. He closes with the quote, "If this is how a party runs, may God help our souls," end quote. Minister Grange has held the culture portfolio since 2016. Morrison was appointed Minister of State in September of last year. Rumors have been circulating in the public domain about a declining relationship between her and Grange. Nationwide put the claims to Minister Morrison on Cliff Hughes online on Friday, June 19.
We in media have been hearing that all is not well between you and your minister, that you are not being given enough work to do. Is that so?
I think the supporters, they're used to seeing me out and about all over. The campaign has ended. I can't be out there in that way. But I can assure them they will see the results shortly. They will see the transition. I honor the past. I respect the contributions of the Honorable Minister. And I am doing what I ought to do, which is the right thing to put the country forward, the ministry forward, and not necessarily to focus on the jingle aspect of the job. The campaign is over. It's time to do real work, serious work. And I want when Jamaica see their minister, their state minister, they know that this is substance over hype.
Nationwide News further reached out to Minister Morrison today about Warmington's comments. She indicated that she would call back, but up to news time, no call had been returned. Everett's Minister Grange were also unsuccessful. So there you have it, listeners. We'll now get reactions from political commentator Kevin O'Brien Chang, as well as political commentator and founder of the Jamaica Association for Debating and Empowerment. That's Jade Jermaine Barrett. Good afternoon, gentlemen.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon to you both, and good afternoon to your listeners.
Kevin, are you there?
Yes, man, I'm here. Hi, everyone.
Good to hear from you. Starting with you, Jermaine Barrett. First, before we get into that potential rift, is Warmington on the mark here in terms of his noting of the presence of Abka Fitzhenley over there in Barbados as opposed to the State Minister for Sport, Entertainment and Culture? Isn't it more accurate to say that he was sent there as a representative of the government from the Office of the Prime Minister?
That is one perspective, but I think a more accurate view is why was the State Minister not sent to represent the Minister? We understand why Minister Babsy Grange was not able to make it because she's in the middle of emancipation preparations,
Yes.
and her ministry is very much caught up in that. But why was the minister not sent? Is it that she too is deeply engrossed in those preparations? I think the ministry and the government needs to give a statement on that because it doesn't look good. The fact that someone else from the Prime Minister's office, I think it is, would have had to be sent on this mission.
And your perspective, Kevin?
Well, first of all, let me pay tribute to the great Sir Garfield Sobers. He was the hero of my youth. So rest in peace, Sir Garfield. Minister Warmington is touching on a far bigger issue. Yes, you would expect the state minister and culture to represent culture. Yeah, that would be expected. So if it didn't happen, people are going to ask why. And Karen Morrison has a very good reputation out there as a doer and her personality, and she was one of those who helped carry home the election for the JLP. She was extremely prominent in the campaign. Remember, she was singing songs and all that. She was very vibrant. So she might feel hard done by. But the bigger issue is for Andrew Holness, and every leader faces it eventually, the changing of the guard.
Yes.
The JLP has a lot of bright, well, they seem to be women, bright youngsters. And I can call 4 names, they're all women. Terencia Morrison, Rhoda Crawford, Tova Hamilton, Crystal Lee. They are 2-term MPs. You expect after that to get promoted into stuff, and they're the junior ministers. And they were not the aging folks who are ministers. Now, I just want to say one thing. I am not casting any aspersions on anybody. I'm just giving a big picture view from my point of view. And Miss Babsy Grange is, in my experience, the best culture minister I've ever lived under, ever seen. She brought back Gangala. She's done a lot of wonderful things. So what I say is certainly no aspersion on Miss Grange. But people get older in their jobs. Napoleon once said the great art of leadership is not that people get older in their job. Because the reality is we get older. I'm experiencing myself. I have less energy. When you're younger, you have more energy. In the prime of your life, political life, maybe from 35 to 65. After that, you start, energy goes down, you don't able to do as much. And it's a fact of life. And if Jamaica is to have the best possible government, and that is the duty of Andrew Holness, the key ministers, he has to change the guard sooner or later. It just has a fact of life. He has at one stage say, okay, gentlemen and ladies, you have served well for a long while, but the time, times have to change, and I have to bring in the young, fresh faces, full of energy, and unleash them. Sooner or later, Andrew Holness has to do that. And it's one of the greatest challenges of leadership, because these people stood by him when he was in trouble. When he had a leadership team, who was there with him? Babsy, Desmond, a lot of these guys were fought in the trenches. The politics is war of words.
It's balancing of egos.
He owes them. But for the good of the country, you have to change eventually. And that's where Mr. Warmington is talking about, I think, to Mr. All right. Don't talk.
Well, gentlemen, we're up on a break. Let's take a small break and then get right back. Empowerment. Jade, Jermaine Barrett. The topic, a potential tiff, I should say, brewing between the culture ministers and the culture minister and her state minister, Babsy Grange and Crencia Morrison, highlighted by former MP for Works, Everald Warmington, giving a warning to the Prime Minister that he needs to settle matters before they fester. So, Jermaine Barrett, in the matter of how Warmington has raised this, as I said, it was in a WhatsApp group to his fellow MPs, and he was very vociferous in that warning, suggesting that the Prime Minister is failing in his duty to act on such matters. Is that the right forum to essentially issue that concern?
I find it curious that at a time like this, when media entities are so inclined to get leaked information, and have to comment that spread in WhatsApp group. Mr. Warmington, it has your private stuff.
Jermaine, you're breaking up there a little. I'm going to... Jermaine, can you hear me?
Go ahead.
You're
Yes,
breaking up a little. We're going to try to
community
reconnect with
connection
you.
is for.
We'll try to reconnect you and get you back on. Are you there with us, Kevin?
Yeah, man, I'm here.
Okay. So I put the question to you. The forum, was it the right forum from the MP there to raise the concern to the Prime Minister?
Somebody to say it. I mean, these things are being said whispered. I mean, Mr. Warmington credit. He's not afraid to talk his truth. And these are things that people have to say eventually. I mean, it's one of the trickiest jobs there is in leadership. And Mr. Holness is probably trying to push it, kick the can down the road, as they say, doesn't want to face it. But you've got to inject new energy into a system to keep it going. And you're frustrating the young talent. These are the prime of their lives, chomping at the bit to put in ideas and all that. And you have to unleash them eventually. But the people have served you long and well. You're loyal to them, and justifiably so. And they've done very good jobs. As I say, I don't think that I've been a better culture minister in my lifetime than Bob the Great. But for the good of the country, that's the good of the country, you need the best people in the ministries, and the best includes the energy. When you're full of energy and you have an experience. So for the good of Jamaica, take out the personalities, take out, everything. What is best for Jamaica? It is best for Jamaica to have an injection of new energy sooner or later, 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, I don't know. But you have to change the guard. For the JLP, if they want to win back, they're going to have to inject new faces. As I said, energy is the key for politics.
But Kevin,
work hard. Hard work is where it comes from.
But Kevin, I'm sure the Prime Minister is seized of that necessity, and he said it publicly to the people of Jamaica about the need for continuation and change going forward in terms of refreshing his cabinet and refreshing the party. But the question is, as many will say, is this the right moment in time? And is this the right person to voice the concern, knowing Everald Warmington as Everald
It
Warmington?
doesn't matter who says it. Truth.
We lost Kevin there. We're going to try to get him back. Are you there, German?
I'm here.
Okay. All right. Glad to have you back. So I put that question to you. Is Everald Warmington the right messenger at this moment in time? Because we know the history of Warmington. He has a very sharp tongue that has gotten into trouble quite a few times, and there's some expectation that there might be some bitterness on his part in terms of what has happened in terms of the fallout in his position as Works Minister. Do you believe he has the right of it, and this is the right moment to raise this concern?
I think absolutely. It is absolutely correct. We live in a liberal democracy, as the Prime Minister of the time says, and it is reasonable for people to express their sentiments that might be, sort of abrasive even, not rude, but of course a little frontal to some individuals like the Prime Minister, and that's what he has done. And Everald Warmington is renowned for speaking his mind. This was expressed in a private WhatsApp group to fellow parliamentarians on the JLP side. I don't think that it is improper. What I think, though, is a little off-putting is the fact that that comment would have been made in the WhatsApp group. And I wonder, it would be off-putting if it is that the comment was made prior to an attempt to engage the Prime Minister on this. We do know that there has been a little bit of a rift, tension, and the State Minister for some time now. And, one would have hoped that a conversation would have been had. If it is that is of concern to Everald Warmington, that he would have approached the Prime Minister and say, Prime Minister, you need to attend to this. I don't know if that engagement was ever had, but two things are true. One, even if it is that Minister Grange is aware that she's in the departure lounge, it does not mean that she will not, at a personal emotive level, feel a little, a little odd, the fact that the heir apparent is placed right next to her to take over as soon as she leaves. That is a human sort of response, and I don't think that is odd, but that needs to be managed and that needs to be controlled. And then secondly, as well, I can imagine that the Prime Minister does not feel particularly happy about this statement from Everald Warmington, albeit not unusual. And I think as well, I imagine that as a means of restoring party discipline, he will Everald Warmington conversation with the minister and the state minister.
Kevin, we understand you're back.
Yeah, man, I'm here.
And Kevin, I have to put this to you because under the circumstances, we know that when you're very much away from an election just ended, and we're essentially in the period where there is not that much in terms of the expectation of politicking, that there tends to be less cohesiveness amongst the parties. We're seeing it in both the People's National Party and the JLP. Is now the time to really have that concern at the forefront of your mind as the Prime Minister of this need for to settle feuds and to have these issues, these little tiffs be sorted out at this early stage when you're so far out from an election?
It's not a tiff. I keep coming back to the point. Mr. Warmington is not the issue. Is he talking the truth? And yes, he is. Sooner or later, Andrew Holness has to change the guard. He has to do it. If he wants to win the next election, if he wants the best for Jamaica. It's not a tiff or anything. I call it, you have young people in the prime of their political career, raring to go to prove themselves. They have all of ideas. And you have people there who have served for a very long time, well done or good and fit to serve, but they are past their prime. And for the good of Jamaica, and I always make all my comments from this point of view, what is best for Jamaica? And what is best for Jamaica right now is for the changing of the guard to put in people in the prime of their time. And the ones who have served well, you find good positions for them. Now, as Jermaine said, human nature is human nature. Nobody likes to give up power and glory. Let's face it. I remember one time a former prime minister said to me here at the airport when he had lost the election and he was waiting at the car for somebody to open the car door for him. But they must realize politics is politics, and surely Mr. Holness can find very nice positions for the ones who, eventually you have to, the next generation has to come. And Mr. Holness has to face that reality. And maybe he doesn't want to face it right now. Mr. Warmington is pushing him. But it has to be done eventually for the good of the country and for his good for his party too. They want to win back. It's just a reality of life. You can't, as I said, 800-ton elephant in the room. That a lot of people in jail are getting older. You have a lot of young replacements there ready to go to move in, and the Prime Minister has to go do it as smoothly as he can. That's what leadership is all about.
But is this the right time for that? As I said,
It's the right time, yeah.
It's not a year. It's not even. It's barely been a year that the Prime Minister has had his new term in government. Are we really making a mountain out of a molehill so early in a term?
No, because it has to be done eventually. Maybe you start talking and the process continues and it's done in a year or two. But certainly the conversation has to begin publicly. People have been whispering it because, of course, it is. They don't want to offend people and all that. And I don't mean to offend anybody. I'm not casting aspersions on anybody. I'm talking about the reality of human nature and the reality of politics. And the old guard has to change to the young guard eventually. Has to happen now. You're going to have a party that collapses from old age.
Mm. Yes. You sound like you want to come in there, Jermaine. Go ahead. Yes, final word to you.
I think that this is absolutely timely rather. You don't want for these issues to fester to the point where you have to be doing crisis management and it's out in the public domain that neither ladies are agreeing and there's war put in the ministry. You don't want for it to get to that level. So you want to stamp it out from the embryonic stages. And I think I agree with Minister, I keep calling him Minister, the former Minister Warmington, that an intervention was necessary a long time ago. Albeit the Prime Minister has a lot on his plate, you see. He has a country to manage, he has so much tending to. And so it is not unreasonable that this matter did not rise to the level in his mind to warrant an intervention. And another thing to note, you see, a lot of times people in power exist in bubbles. They exist removed from the real politics or the realities of the environment that exists around them. And so I'm not sure whether or not the Prime Minister was as seized of the issues, confronting the Minister and the State Minister as Warmington seems to have been. And so that he certainly now knows, and I expect him to act and act quickly.
Then just finally, Jermaine, is this a potential, or as I want to say, a potential ongoing weakness that we see within the JLP government from time to time where matters such as this, you see these internal rifts threatening to disentangle the party at critical moments. You saw it back in Northeast St. Anne, then when Matthew Samuda had to take over, and what took place before he took over in that seat. And you see it continuing sometimes throughout the party's history. Is that what Warmington is warning the Prime Minister against?
Yes, Siobhan, and that is natural, that is human. It is as real as the fact that humans need to breathe air to survive. The fact is that people existing in groups, however large or however small, will have disagreements. But what is important to be explored and examined is, are the processes working to resolve those tensions, those conflicts? We saw it in the matter that you just referenced. We also expect to see it in this matter now. Know that it has come into the public domain, and it has sort of reflected poorly, one could argue, on the JLP.
Well, we'll see what happens in the coming days, how the Prime Minister handles this matter. If he sees it fit that it must rise to the level of his plate to manage it. Thank you so much, gentlemen. That's Kevin O'Brien Shang, political commentator, as well as Jermaine Barrett, the political commentator and the founder of the Jamaica Association for Debate.